Hey, my friends, J.R. Dukes here with jrdukes.com, and welcome to the J.R. Dukes Show. I appreciate you joining me today. I want to talk to you about something that's in the news right now and that is near and dear to my heart because I love talking about legal issues and I love talking about issues related to the police and how do we interact with the police and what should we teach our children that we generally don't teach our children about dealing with the police. Well, if you've been following the news in the last few days, there's a lady in Texas. This was featured in the Houston Chronicle, so I want to give credit where credit's due. Some of my sourcing is from there. The lady's name, that was the reporter, is Rebecca Hens, and we're talking about Melissa Lucio. I hope I'm saying her last name right, Melissa Lucio. At any rate, this poor individual is on Texas death row. She was scheduled to be executed today, and a couple days ago, she was granted a reprieve from the Texas Court of Appeals, which is fantastic news. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background here, and then I want us to briefly talk about what lessons can we learn from Miss Lucio's case, and how can we apply this to our daily lives. In short, Miss Lucio had 14 children. At the time of her arrest, she was pregnant with twins. So keep that in mind. She's pregnant with twins at the time that her 2-year-old ends up dying at her home. She claims it was from a fall down the stairs. The prosecutor's office claimed that she died as a result of child abuse and some kind of blunt force trauma at the hands of the mother, Miss Lucio. Why is it that it seems like minorities and poor people that are disadvantaged, seem like they always end up in this type situation and they don't ever get the proper representation to give them a fair trial, a fair hearing? The reason is simple. They don't have the money. They don't have the resources that wealthier people have. And I think most importantly, they are not taught what I'm trying to teach you on my channel and what I'm trying to teach you in this particular meeting. And here it is. Here's the bottom line. Please do not talk to the police when it comes to any type of criminal matter. If you are arrested, if you are interrogated, if you're even questioned by the police, your response needs to be very calmly, very professionally, but very directly that you want a lawyer, period. Once you are arrested, once you are detained, at that point you want to exercise your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and simply exercise that right by stating it. Remember, as I've talked about before, you have to specifically state that you wish to exercise your Fifth Amendment right. When you are talking with the police prior to being detained, prior to your arrest, at that point you want to make sure you exert your Sixth Amendment right. If you have any questions about that, be sure to see my previous videos where I talk about Salinas versus Texas. This is a recent case which kind of splits hairs as to what to say or not say, but the short version is this: under no circumstances should you ever talk to the police as far as criminal proceedings are concerned or any kind of investigatory proceedings are concerned. We must teach our children what the police, what prosecutors, what judges teach their own children. And what that is, my friends, is they teach them not to say nothing, to stay silent, to exercise their Sixth Amendment privilege to have a lawyer, to exercise their Fifth Amendment right once they're in custody to take the Fifth Amendment and not say nothing. And it's very important that they articulate these words. The Supreme Court has been very clear in recent years. You simply cannot sit there in front of the police and remain mute. You must state that you stand on your Fifth and assert your Fifth Amendment rights and will not be answering any questions, and you want a lawyer. Please teach this to yourself. Please practice this out loud. Please practice this with your children. Repeat after me. I want a lawyer. I plead the Fifth Amendment and I will not be answering any questions. It's important that you practice this because what happens is whenever there is a police matter, whenever you're brought into an investigation, God forbid you're ever arrested, I can tell you exactly what happens. You panic. You freak out. We all do. None of us like the law coming to our home, pulling us over on the side of the road. We all start having our heart pounding up and down. We all get nervous. We all get scared. We don't know what to do, and we just want the pain to stop. The irony is you want the pain to stop, and if you want the pain to stop, you have to train yourself to remain calm and exercise your constitutional rights. Because if you don't, that is the ironic danger that you face, is that you can end up in prison for a crime you did not commit because you could not shut up, because you did not know how to exercise your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, because you did not know how to exercise your Sixth Amendment right and demand a lawyer, period. It's really that serious. Once the police determine you're guilty, like they did in this particular individual's case, Miss Lucio, once they have determined that you are guilty, trust me, they're going to zero in on you, and they're going to do to you what they did to Miss Lucio. And what they did, among other things, is they took her into custody. They took her down for the interrogation. She was there for hours and hours, and over 100 times she said, "I'm innocent. I didn't do nothing. I did not abuse my child. I did not kill my child. My child fell down the stairs a couple of days ago. I don't know what happened. I'm very upset about this. I did not do nothing." Imagine that. She said that over 100 times. And then about 2 o'clock in the morning, the Texas Rangers take over. And I can assure you, these people are all seasoned pros, seasoned interrogators. They know what you're doing. And I can guarantee you, if they are allowed to interview you long enough, if they are allowed to keep hammering you long enough, you'll be surprised what you admit to. Because what happened with this poor woman is exactly what I'm telling you can happen to you. And that is, she ended up starting to slightly change her story. To my knowledge, she never came out and said, "I did it." She said something to the effect of, "Well, maybe I must have." And I know on an intellectual level, that's kind of hard to believe. Well, we would never admit a crime we did not commit. Again, trust me, you will under the right, or I should say the wrong circumstances, if you're ever in it. Plus, this woman was predisposed to this type of false confession. She suffered from poverty. She suffered from drug addiction. She suffered from sexual violence. She suffered from violence in general. She had many men that abused her. Remember, she had right at 14 children, and she was a victim of this whole list of crimes and abuse. She's been homeless. She's lived on the streets. This woman has not had the ideal life. Nobody ever sat her down and told her what I'm telling you to teach your children. I had someone the other day tell me, "Oh, well, her daughter that died, God forbid, she had bite marks, she had bruise marks." I can tell you firsthand, I raised 7 natural children on my own and a foster son. I can assure you, when the kids were younger, the older kids would sometimes hit the younger kids and have a bruise show up on the back or something to that effect. It can happen. The truth is this: I'm not 100% convinced that Miss Lucio is quote-unquote completely innocent. It's probably highly likely she failed to get medical care for her daughter, but under no circumstances, in my humble opinion, did the prosecutor, did the state of Texas ever prove a death penalty case against this woman beyond a reasonable doubt. There's no way in hell that happened. As a matter of fact, 5 of the original jurors have come forward now and asked that her trial be overturned, that her sentence be commuted, whatever. They don't want to see her put to death. And they said, had they known about her prior sexual violent past, they would not have convicted her. There is a lot more evidence that has came out since her trial. The prosecutor that actually prosecuted her, it's my understanding that that prosecutor has subsequently went to prison on unrelated bribery type issues. There is just a whole mess going on here. As a matter of fact, I believe on Hulu or on Amazon Prime, there is a documentary that's floating around where somebody did an excellent job of going through and dissecting the holes in this particular case. This case is rotten. This case stinks. This case should be thrown out. This is wrong, and I pray that they do something about it. This is the case that illustrates why the death penalty should not be allowed in our country. The death penalty was started because we were all sold a bill of goods, and the bill of goods went something like this: we have to have the death penalty. There are some people that are so evil that the only thing we can do is to extinguish their life from the face of the earth. That's what justice demands. Well, that used to be the way it was when it first started. Now we put to death a mother of 14 children. This is outrageous. And here's the irony in American justice. I don't want to get off on too many tangents. She could have legally aborted that child prior to she giving birth to her child, and that would have been perfectly legal. But because the child was 2 years of age, it's a crime if she indeed had committed a murder against her child. Just think about that. It's really just one of these weird quirks of American justice. Under no circumstances should the state be allowed to put someone to death. And if they are going to put people to death, it should not be this reasonable doubt, because the reasonable doubt is not really reasonable doubt. It should be beyond any doubt, not a 97% kind of carrying it over the goal line type of thing. It should be more like a 99.999% that someone did it. In other words, you have a video, you have audio of something going down, not one of these fake confessions, not one of these interrogations that go on 6, 7, 8 hours with a woman that was pregnant with twins at the time she's being interrogated. This is outrageous. Please, everybody, you should be outraged about this. And take away the lesson that I'm trying to tell you about right now. I beg you. Please teach your children these skills that I'm trying to teach you. Teach them about the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. Teach them about the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution. Please explain to them that they have to physically state that they wish to put forward their Fifth Amendment right, their Sixth Amendment right. It is so important. It really can mean the difference between someone spending life in prison, or in this poor woman's case, someone going to death, versus somebody that's actually exonerated. This happens in our justice system. It's real. And this case proves it. If you have any comments, or if you disagree with me, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can always reach me on my email address that's listed below. It's simply reachjrdukes@gmail.com. You can also, like I said below, leave a comment. Tell me what your feelings are. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? I'd love to hear from you either way. At any rate, thanks for tuning in today. I want you to always remember to keep that mind free and never give up, my friends. I am J.R. Dukes.